Salutations, salutations, everyone. Thank you for coming into the building. There's been a couple of changes today. I know that we were expecting actress Krystal Monique to be here for our sit down, but unfortunately, at the last minute, she postponed on me. And I'm very understanding that things happen, but it's just, you know. There's certain things that could have happened, where you could have let me know sooner. But either way, we did reschedule. So, please make sure you tune in. We did lock in another date and time, but I'm not going to announce that yet until when it comes close to, because like I said, I don't want to take any chances, you guys, if something were to come up again, because this. So, but I am looking forward to having her on. She had mentioned that she had got a procedure done for her skin. And I never heard of this procedure before. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. So I don't know how much she would want me to share. You know, so I don't want to put her out, out there like that, because I don't know how much she would want me to share. But she had mentioned that there was some discoloration on her skin, and she felt self-conscious about coming on camera and doing an interview. Looking a certain way. She had like some redness in her skin, and so she wanted to make sure that she was more presentable to us. And so I do, although I do appreciate that, but I just feel like, sometimes you gotta, just let people accept us for who we are. And there were times where we're gonna have some imperfections. Sometimes there were a couple of times that we all come on camera looking, just like a hot mess, just coming on camera, looking every which way. But I do understand her position where, she wants to make sure that she's more presentable, especially, because we're in a capacity where we're doing an interview. And so she wants to make sure that she's presentable. So I understand that. And I want to, and that brings me to what I wanted to kind of discuss today about when you look at my title, I said it's fake, women's fake empowerment, because it's very selective, right? Very objective. And so she mentioned that that is something that she wanted to talk about as well, especially as an actress, being a public figure, and where image is and always will be to a certain standard. And so I definitely look forward to having a discussion with her, because if you were able to tune into her movie Woman to Woman, please make sure you go on Tubi and check that movie out. Is one of the top movies on Tubi. It's had so many like millions of views, and so she had shared with me some comments that were made by people that was saying that was drawing so much attention to um, like blemishes on her face, like her acne on her face. And I'm like, wow. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, people are going to, it is something wrong, because we are all, and I put myself in this, that we all guilty of making judgments about each other, especially as women. It comes mostly from women, where we have these type of comments, like, instead of just focusing on her acting and focusing on the story, focusing on the movie itself and how laid her unit was. That's my focus. I was so mesmerized by her hair, the way it was laid. You don't have many lace fronts there, or many units that are just laid the way it was. So I was just so I was amazed by that. But she shared with me some comments that were made about her skin, in that movie. And so, yes, we got to discuss that. And like I said, we are in this culture where we are kind of putting a microscope on what we call body shaming, or ageism, just a lot of different criticism when it comes to mainly women, and especially on TV. A lot of times in public, a woman has to be very glamorous, very put together, and attractive. But you have a lot of men that don't have as much pressure to be a certain size, or be a certain way aesthetically. They can have a leading man that can, just not, be, as I said, aesthetically pleasing to most, but it doesn't matter as much as it is for a woman. And so just kind of sharing, just giving myself, using myself as an example. And like I said, we all, like I said, we talk among each other and we say certain, have certain conversations about, oh, this person look like this person has lost weight, or this person has gained some weight, or what's going on with them. And they're just not, they're not, is not, giving the way you used to give. And, you have, that's why I think there's a lot of people, a lot of women who opt to go the plastic surgery route, mostly because of the esteem issues, the insecurities, but also being put down by not just their peers but family. I can use myself as an example that I've been ridiculed a lot by not just kids from school about my dark skin, because this is before there was a thing, because of colorism was a thing back then growing up. But now it's it's kind of being it's being sensationalized now. But um there was a time where being dark skinned was not very attractive. It was not the trending thing. It was like the bane of one's existence when come across my being dark skinned. And so growing up, I was called every dark skin insult in the book, whether it was tar baby, black spook, midnight, any those type of things that cruel things that were said growing up. And there were a lot of family members that would make comments about my skin as well, by being dark. And it's so funny because a lot of the same family members are just as dark or darker than I. So go figure. I think they sometimes there's a level of projection there, right? When you have these bullies and you have people that are taunting you, there are is a reflection of how they truly feel about themselves and what they're struggling from within. So because I've been self-conscious for a long time about a lot of things, especially my breast size. So get into that part, that's a whole nother conversation. So I have to make sure that I put on a bra so I can be on camera with your guys. And yes, I always make sure that I add that little that little statement, like that signature statement when I do my interviews. But I've been I've developed early, you guys. I developed very early. And I've gotten so many people who would just put me down. They made, about my breast size, like I had anything to do with it. If you have something to say about it, or if if my breast stood out to you that much, maybe you need to, maybe, I don't know, have a little talk with Jesus and find out why that is, because yes, I've had, you know, but again, a lot of it came from women and other girls. Even though, yes, when it came to my breast size, there were boys that would be, dumb as a box of rocks, that would have their comments as well. Don't get me wrong. And and people would just, like, people who would, I thought that were close to me, would laugh at it. They would laugh at the insults being made towards me. And that's another thing I tried to avoid doing as well, because if I'm friends with you and we're cool, and I know that this person is being they're saying negative comments towards you, or they're not being so nice towards you, I'm not going to stand there and laugh at it. I'm going to, even though it may seem like it's funny at the moment because we all just laughing and we're joking, but there are moments where the comments are not so nice, and it. Because it's so funny how when I say something back in response, or if I come at a certain person a certain way, they have something to say about it. But then when I express my feelings about certain things that are said towards me, then, oh, I'm being sensitive, or why are you so defensive? Why you got that? You just can't have it both ways here. But it's just, I'm just making a point here by, as far as image when it comes to women, when it comes to how we react towards people on screen, or how we react towards people within our circles, within our communities, because we don't know what a person is going through. We don't know what their story is. We don't know what their health issues are. There are so many different factors that play a part in how we look. Okay. And I just reflect to, even when I started blossoming, and, I went to college, and, this is like, I think I was like, what, 18 here, 18 or 19 here. Um, so yeah, I hope, trying to, like, avoid all the glare. So yeah, that was like back in my college dorm. And so I was, so when you become an adult, and you go through different phases in your life, and this is where my journey started, as an adult. And this is where the time where my dark skin was in. Basically, my dark skin was, you know my dark skin was complimented left and right, and it was so hard for me to take that in, because I wasn't used to people complimenting me on my skin. I mean, they loved my complexion at that time, because growing up it wasn't that way. So it was really, hard for me to take it all in, right? And so I was slimmer back then as well, as you can see. And so I brought that up, because as I gotten older, and I got pregnant with my son, I've gained 60 pounds. I've gained quite a bit of weight. And so when I had my son, I wasn't as motivated, or, I was not in the space to um, lose the weight back, or, exercise, or, so I allowed myself to gain more weight. And people brought it to my attention, like, as if I didn't know, but, oh, Faith, you're getting fat, or Faith, you're gaining so much more weight. And, they did not miss their words at all, as if they didn't understand that I just had a baby, ladies and gentlemen. I just had a baby. And I know you can't really see my body in full here, but this is around the time where, my son was about 11 months old. And this is around the time where I was still getting negative feedback about my weight, and knowing that it takes time. And there were a lot of people that were so insensitive to the fact that, you know, I just had a child, and I'm, might be going through some things and dealing with what I was dealing with at the time. That wasn't it wasn't part of my journey at that time. And these are people that had children, and, it wasn't like I was trying to use that as an excuse, because there were people women who have children, and they still use that as an excuse to their weight gain, or the size they are, but yet their children are in their 20s and 30s. So how long are you going to use that as an excuse? So that's either here or there. But my you have something to say about me and my weight gain. And I know it was hard for me to really get into the groove of um, back to my inner, but getting back to myself, because I was not in that space at that time. So, so at this time, it was rough for me, and so I was shamed. Back then, it was a called body shame. Back then, it was called. I guess she was like, what, brutally honest. I guess you want to say it that way. But then, and so there was some years that went by, and I just wanted to kind of inquire more about a holistic lifestyle. And I, decided on my terms um, to lose the weight. I wanted to decide on my terms to be able to get back to, even if it's not back to, because I didn't really want to get back to the, 140 pounds. I mean, I didn't want to be that small again, but I just wanted to, I was like, kind of working more towards being a self, just continue to work on myself. So this is at my high school reunion. It was my, was it 10? No, 20 20 year reunion. Yeah, it was 20 year reunion. And I was, still working on my, working on myself, kind of working towards being a better version of myself. But at that time, right, it was just it's just difficult as you get older, and as women, we tend to shame each other. And I think growing up, that's why I had the ability to get along more with men than women. To be honest with you, I don't know if you want to call it male identified or whatever, so be it. But I gotten along better with men than with women. Um, Even though there was some guys out there that was jerks, but for the most part, women, these are the same women that preach about empowerment and being a girl's girl and girl power, black girls rock. But you say all that, but then you're quicker to condemn us, any way possible, So I just want us to be mindful of, the things that we put out there and about each other, and because we get enough, we get a bad rep as it is. As black women, we get a bad rep as it is for our attitudes and for our dispositions. Some of the way that we navigate through relationships, we get a bad rep as it is. So I think we just need to do a better job at um, a better job at ma- um, um, maintaining a more of united front. Um, it's not going to be easy. I mean, it's going to be times we're still going to have something to say. We're still going to, call you out. I mean, there are times we're still going to, be each other's accountability partner, or we're still going to have something to say. I mean, we're going to be roasting and, whatever, and gagging. That's never going to go away. But to just be outright intentional in harming somebody with our words, we got to be mindful of that. Because I'm still, working on myself as well. Because, and just recently, for example, I mean, just kind of when Krystal and I had the brief conversation before I came on, and she was talking about, how fans can be very cruel to you, especially as a public figure, especially as an actress, and how an image of a woman is so critiqued, um, it's so dissected to where it's yeah it can be very yeah, it can be very disheartening, so to speak. And so that kind of resonated with me. And so, like I said, I'm glad that we were able to have that discussion when she comes on about the image of women and how it impacts us as a whole. Because that went back to me when I went to this Vegas trip in February, and I understood that based off of what was going on at the time during the time I was in Vegas, there are certain sectors and certain people that has something to say, about me, about my looks or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, because like I said before, I never said that I was drop dead gorgeous. I would never classify myself as being the it factor. But I'm just like these same people, women, like I said, majority women, that have so much to say about, and they still determined to make me a man, you guys. I mean, I've already addressed that, many videos ago, many moons ago, but they still, at that moment, at that time, was still, you know, because they will still make me out to be a man, so I had those insults. They was coming for my teeth for whatever reason. Like I said, I don't understand why they were coming for my teeth, but they just they had to find something to, use me as a target, right? So they was doing those darts at me, so, and I'm telling you, especially those, like, if you heard me talk about the beef sector several times, right? And some of these people, most of them don't even come on camera. First of all, most of them they use avatars, and that's what you're right. People are well in their right to not to do content and come on their platforms without being on camera for whatever reasons is that their own reasoning. But if you're going to make that decision, then you should not be in a position to make any comments about one's looks or drag them for whatever. And I understand that it's a roasted and gagging thing. Like I said, when it comes to certain sectors, they're going to have something to say regardless. But it's like, if you're not, if you're not putting yourself out there on camera, then why would you even be in a position to make such disparaging comments about others? And then also, the same people that were coming at me about my looks, they have faces that only God and their mama could love. Because I've seen, like, I've been following certain sectors. I've been following, especially the beef sector, for some time now, and they don't. Like I said, they have faces that only God and their mama could love. So it's just like, you're coming at me. I find it very rich. It's very rich. To have these statements being made towards me while I was on this trip, because of me expressing my views about certain situations that occurred. I wasn't upset. I wasn't, they made it seem like I was just pitiful and I was just stranded out there and, oh, this, that, and the other. Like I was just this damsel in distress type of thing. And it wasn't even like that. All because I was expressing my honest views about what happened at that time. And I stood 10 toes down on it. That was a problem, right? So it was just like, wow, really? But beauty is an eye of beholder. We all have our versions of what we view as being attractive. We all have our opinions and interpretations of what beauty is, what beauty looks like to the other person, and that's fine. But I just feel like we need to be mindful of the type of remarks that we make towards people and how it affects um, their securities, how it affects they having a desire to do plastic surgery, or how it affects their overall self-esteem. Because we are raising, a lot of people are raising girls, a lot of people are raising their cousins, their nieces, there are a lot of people that have the desire to raise their girls to be impressionable, to get old enough to um, just to be the best version of themselves that they can be. So I just wanted to get, I'm just putting stuff out there, but I was hoping to get more engagement here as to what your views are when it comes to this fake women's empowerment, especially when it comes to image, when it comes to our aesthetic, when it comes to, just how we interact with one another. I just wanted to kind of just do give a little context, since my interview was postponed. I just wanted to kind of put that out there because I want to make sure that people like Krystal Monique, I want to make sure that if they decide to alter, make certain augmentations, or um, if they choose to do like chemical peels, or certain things for their skin. I just want to make sure that it is something that they're doing for themselves. Because they want to do it, because they want to do it for themselves, and not for the not to appease the masses. So I just want to make sure that that is the case there. Whatever it is that you decide to do it for you. And if you don't need to, if you could avoid drastic procedures, do so, because you're going to end up regretting it at the end. You have people like K. Michelle who almost lost her life, reversing the procedures that she's done, and so just be mindful of whether or not you're making certain decisions based on your desires or someone else's perception of you. So I'm not a preacher. I'm not an intellectual. I'm just giving you my true authentic self here, because I'm working on me right now as we speak. I'm going to be of a certain age this year, and I'm blessed, and but I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in the slump for these last couple of years. I've fallen by the wayside, and I really have to make sure that I get back on track when it comes to my eating habits, when it comes to my When it comes to being more active, I got to step it up, and I have been stepping it up. So, and that's another thing, age shaming, because, going back to that Vegas trip, they said I was old and desperate. I don't know why. I don't know how they incorporate, whatever happened in Vegas and and so a supposed meet and greet. It went from a stunt that was talked about that never happened to me being such a big age and being old and desperate and and going out there for whatever. Like it was just a lot of talk, you guys. And I'm like, again, going back to women, as we get older as women, we have a lot of pressure to maintain us, maintain our bodies and maintain our aesthetic at a certain age, because men, they're going to be more and more distinguished as they get older. It doesn't take as much effort for men to keep, to maintain their aesthetic more so than women. And so when you talk about, big ages, first of all, no one knows how, no one out here really knows how big my age is. I don't really disclose that. I don't need to, because as you know, as far as you guys are concerned, I'm only 27 years old, okay? So let's just put that out there. As far as you know, I'm only 27 years old. But the fact that you talk about age, you age shame, and just like, okay, whatever, but I hope, shout out to those who's coming in and out. I see people lurking in and out the bushes, so shout out to all of you. But like I said, I did want to have more interactions. That's why, I don't really do these type of lives too much. I only do lives when I have interviews, because I don't have as many people commenting on, as many people engaging with me like as I would want to. Hopefully that would change in the near future. But in the meantime, don't let that stop you from tuning in. Don't let that stop you from going into the comments. Don't let that stop you from sharing the video. Like the video. Please like the video. Subscribe to my channel, please. And so in the meantime, I'm still looking forward to more interviews coming up. It's been a blessing. Like I was telling Sean Sinclair the other night, it's been such a blessing to sit with um, so many great people, to make the time to sit with me. It's just amazing to me so far. I've been doing the YouTube for about this next month will be a year. And so it's just amazing how I've been blessed to be among so many great people, and that's been inspirations to me. Um, and so the next interview that's coming up is going to be on April 29th. I believe it's at 6 p.m. Let me just make certain. Uh, April 29th at, yes, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when I'll be talking to Being Brutally Honest. Um, Shout out to her. I'm looking forward to my sit down with her. So that's going to be my next interview, and I'm still booking, you guys. I'm still booked, and it's amazing. It's such a blessing. So I do appreciate people, like I said, that are just like so on board with coming on, and also on board with. Please make sure you're on board with. Just listen to other content that I may have, and um, anything that I may have, may able to express. Just please make sure you tune in. I haven't done any reaction videos in a while, because I honestly haven't really found anything to really react to that I really would, really catch my interest enough to really have a full blown, you know, discussion on. But I mean, I know it's going to come at some point, so just tune in for those. But in the meantime, I hope that you are able to get some type of perspective on what I was speaking on. And yeah, so like I said, I just want us to be better to each other, you know, because I don't want to give, these men ammo, any more ammo to not like us. Because like I said, I still stand on the fact that a lot of black men, majority of black men, do not really like us as black women. They may love us for a purpose, or they may love us to a certain degree, but they don't really like us. And we can have that discussion at another time. But in the meantime, have a good one.